Okay.
We're all here?
We're all here. We've got Stuart in the middle and we've got Steve.
Hey, Steve.
So I think we're all set. So let's call the meeting to order.
Let's do that.
We want to approve the June minutes. Steve just sent those out, so I don't know if everybody's had a chance to look at them.
Need to.
We
Have
can,
a copy.
we can come back and get those approved at the next month's meeting. If everybody hasn't had a chance to read it. So why don't we plan on doing that?
Okay.
At next month's meeting, we'll approve both June and July.
Okay. Let's do that. That's good.
And Steve, if you can get the minutes out for this meeting a week ahead of time, then everybody will have a chance to read it.
Can do.
Thank you. All right, approval of this month's agenda. Does anybody have anything to add to the agenda? Okay, and let's just get started then. First of all, Stuart, you okay? You hear us and everything?
5 by 5.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, first thing is the lifeguard situation has improved tremendously since last year. Between the scheduling and the fact that we do have a couple additional guards, the pools have not had to be closed except for 2 days early on. Mumford's, I think, was closed, but that's the only 2 days, and except for weather-related issues, they've been open every day. So that's great news. Moving on, the charging document. Stuart, can you tell us a little bit about whether or not the board has looked at that and what their responses might be?
Yeah, I forwarded to Linda to include in the board packet coming up. There's really, no one's really had any discussion on it.
Okay, so
But
that'll
happen at the meeting.
okay at Saturday's meeting.
That's correct.
Okay, all righty. And everybody's had a copy of the charging document, so everybody knows what was in it. So I guess at the July meeting, we'll be able to discuss how the board reacted to it.
Could I add one thing?
Sure.
I'm not sure it's related to, well, clearly it's separate, but I went to the pool the other day just to meet somebody, and I didn't know if I was meeting them in the pool, inside the pool area or outside. And it was a small line, it was no big deal. But when I got to the front, and I did buy a membership this year, I was asked if I was a swim member. And I said, yes. And they said, go on in.
They didn't swipe you?
So, no. So I mean, was there some,
Norm,
you know of anything that was down with the computer or anything?
I don't know specifically, but the computer does
Well,
have
that I know.
blips periodically. Usually they'll take your card and swipe it. But if you tell them you're a pool member and the computer's not working, I guess
It's
they're
just honor system, I suppose. Okay.
Yeah. And it's nice if they do that. Personally, I think they should still look at your card, but that's not something that I'm gonna.
You have a backup system, you know, a paper list of swim members, something like that. I mean, there aren't that many swim members. It wouldn't, if it's an alphabetical order,
Well, with
how
all
hard could it be?
due respect, it was crowded.
It was crowded. Was it Saturday?
Sorry,
Was it the weekend?
I'm trying to remember.
Oh, never mind. Doesn't matter.
It might have been Friday.
Okay. Oh.
Yeah, well, and Friday was pretty busy. All right, moving on to membership. One of the things that Stuart suggested and we talked about last month briefly was the idea of suggesting to the board that we develop a short-term membership, a membership that would be for a 1 maybe 2-week period. And the idea being that families that have families that live here that are residents, they have family members come to visit for a week. They have grandkids or even just other family members that may want to come to the pool. It would be nice if there was a short-term membership, let's say for 1 week, so that the people didn't have to pay every time they walked into the pool. And that way, depending on what the price of the membership was, and just throwing it out, I think last time we talked about maybe $100 for a family of 4 for a 1-week period. Now, depending on how often people go to the pool would make a difference on whether or not the $100 was the right amount. So we'd have to look into
And how
that.
many in the family? Is it a 4-person?
Well, this is all
Yeah.
up for discussion.
We
Yeah.
actually had something about this in the budget proposal at the end of last year.
We did.
Yeah, and we had worked, I think Steve and I worked some numbers and some things around that, like
Right.
how to do it and how it would be a possible savings if it would still bring people into the pool perhaps more often. So there's
Right.
a win for aquatics, or I'm sorry, for the aquatics department. And then also it'd be nice for the families. It might save them a little bit of money, like it was kind of a little bit of a deal.
Right.
I don't know what happened to that.
Well,
I know we
I-
submitted it late, so
yeah, and I think it's something that we need to work on and present to the board for next year. I mean, it's obviously too late for this season,
right.
but it would be a nice addition to the membership opportunities.
A
for
question
people.
to ponder while we're thinking about that. How would that, have we even thought about how that might impact people like me who typically buy a membership every year, but perhaps because I know when family is coming, maybe I won't buy a membership. I'll wait and buy one of these mini memberships. Did we
Well,
discuss that or?
We didn't
brainstorm
really,
it?
because last month was the first time we even brought up the concept. And I know we did speak about it briefly last year, but that's certainly something to consider. I'm not sure. Would you really give up having a membership for the entire season and buy one just for 1 week
There's such a difference.
when the family was coming?
I mean, there are variables that you could apply to that, like a 2-week membership. And how many times can you buy that during a season? I mean, there are lots of things to consider. If you have family coming and going throughout the summer, the season.
Well, and I think initially we all thought that this would be a 1-week membership, short term. And if people wanted to buy 2 or 3 of those, that would be fine, but it would be,
Probably
in my
cost
mind,
it wouldn't
it
pay.
wouldn't pay for them to do that for themselves.
Mhm.
For the family that are residents, buying a regular membership, or for the couples to buy the couples membership makes a lot of sense. But when the couples have their grandkids come down or their kids come down, they might want to have a way of getting them into the pools without having to pay every day.
I'm so sorry.
I'm
for
sorry,
missing you
come on
guys.
in.
My puppy's insulin injection time is usually 10 a.m.
Oh.
I moved it back as far as I could, but
Gary?
This- Tracy, yes,
Uh, If I can go back and work with, I think it's Viv I was working with last year on the proposal, and we can pull that section out and bring it forward to our next meeting as a starting point. But I did want to say that one of the things that we could consider is that this special 1-week guest pass, and I wouldn't call it a membership, I'd call it just a guest pass for a family. And it's only available for sale if you have a pool membership. So just a general resident, again, that, I would see that as an added perk that we put with the package of swim membership, as a reason to buy one.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good idea from that perspective. You're right. But before we got to that, I was just thinking how nice that would be for people who don't live here full time and they're here, they come for their summer vacation for 2 weeks. And, people who own their house here in the Pines, but like maybe they're weekenders, but then they come 1 or 2 weeks in the summer. This is their vacation spot. And I thought, boy, wouldn't that be nice for them to have that opportunity
Well,
to go to the pool as much as they want while they're
yes,
here.
indeed. And I worked in this very building 20 years ago. And the renters that would come, there was an option available to them. But they worked the deal through the owner of the property.
Yeah, we're still
And-
trying to get to the bottom of that, I think, with what they're doing now.
Seriously? Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
but I don't know.
Gary,
Yeah, but that was
But I
a
was
nice thing.
thinking-
It was in their packet.
Yeah,
I was
That's
more
right.
thinking of the way I thought it worked with renters now is they just come to the door and they say, hey, I'm renting, 23 Ocean Parkway, and they get in,
Yeah.
which of course then anybody can give any address they want, and they'll get in.
Which-
But that's just another thought. But I was thinking of people who own their house and come here, and spend their vacation time 2 weeks in the summer, like, before we lived here full time, we were weekenders and summer vacationers.
Right.
So I just thought that would be nice for them, a nice perk for those guys, but it's not a moneymaker for anybody. It's just a nice to do for
Well,
a nice
and
convenience.
it's good for the community.
Yeah,
It's
Right.
it's a consideration that's.
You had a comment?
Yeah, because my thoughts are that, an additional thing that I think ought to be addressed, and I'm not sure how anybody else will feel about it, is that I think currently somebody who's renting their property through the whole summer, they buy a pool membership and then the renters show up. I don't know how that works with a membership card because their picture won't be on it. My thoughts were that if we recommended to the board offering a renter package, which has a different price point, and they would get, what are there, maybe 12 or 14 weeks in the summer season, they would get 14 week-long passes that they can give to their renters. And to separate that from a personal membership, because it seems that right now, renters are using somebody's personal membership to get into the pool, and we're not recognizing that that's a separate business to me.
Yeah.
But I think Stuart wants to add something.
How do we denote the difference between somebody that's renting year round, that rents their house here, and a part-time renter? I mean, if you're renting, you're renting. But I think that a full-time resident renter should get the same benefits and be a member and be able to buy a couple's membership or family membership or whatever they want. How do you distinguish between those?
Well, my thought is that what Steve was really going for is the people that are residents and own here, but rent their house out pretty much 50 weeks a year. And they rent it to different people. So they want to buy a membership so that the renters on a weekly basis can get into the pool. It will help them with the sale of rental, not sale, but increase the number of people that want to rent from them because they get a pool pass with it. So the people that are full-time renters here, as you said, Stuart, they're going to go ahead and take the regular memberships. So I think that's the separation. Yeah.
So
When,
I'm sorry.
when people are renting packages, I'm a realtor, this is how it works, okay, when people are renting packages, if they advertise online that they're coming to Ocean Pines and they rent it, and they have 4 swim passes with it. When you get there, you've got a swim pass that says guest pass on it, and it does not have an ID on it, but that's how it works. And there's 4 of them. They're in there.
Yeah,
With the thing.
Are
But-
they still doing that? Because we asked about it. And we were told no.
Yes, and the owner who rents the house out has to purchase that package.
Uh-huh.
Not all owners purchase that package, so it costs more to rent from the people who are purchasing those packages than it does. And I think what's happened is that people are not buying those packages anymore, and the renters are just coming in and saying that. But that's originally how it was set up, is that the owner has to offer that on their website. They offer pool membership included. And if they don't offer that, then it costs less for the renters to rent that property out. So that's
But
part
all-
of what made it more attractive.
But we were
But-
told that currently the renters come to the gate and any renter and says, I'm renting at blah, 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 and they get in.
Well,
Yeah, no,
that's what I-
no, they get to pay the
They-
resident
They
rate.
pay the resident rate,
Right.
right,
What-
but they're not residents here.
Right,
Right, and
But
you're saying.
all
the
of this, any changes we might recommend to the board would require that we start checking everything at the door. You don't get in by just saying I'm a resident. You don't get the resident rate. It would all depend on if you're a resident and a member, then we have a membership card we have to show to get into the annual meeting. It should all be on one card. You show that, they call it up in the records. Yep, you got a pool membership, go on in, or yep, you're a resident, but you don't have a pool membership, so you pay this rate. But just as a business practice, I guess,
Right.
I don't think we're operating the pool admission quite as efficiently as we might be able to. Understanding there's going to be times when there's a bottleneck and it takes time. So I don't know if we need to recommend that John, that the operations team look into some kind of better check-in system that can work faster. But I would think that before we could do much of anything, it would have to be a technology address that says, yes, we can check everybody's membership resident status at the pool as they admit.
just, I'm sorry, I don't know your name.
Tracy, that's okay.
Tracy, I'm sorry, I'm Ann.
Yep.
Ellen. Um, Do we all recall a few years back when you used to be able to buy booklets of
Yeah.
10?
Yeah.
Okay,
Right,
that was handy. That was handy. You
Yeah.
could buy, for a discounted rate, you could buy packets of passes into the pool.
right. And you could load them onto your membership card. So if you bought it, then guests could
That
come in
too,
and
but
use your card.
actually, because working in the office, I recall renters for some reason had to come see us. This was so many years ago that my memory isn't all that great anymore, but they would come and we would hand renters a packet of stuff
Right.
for their time.
Mhm.
And it would have their name on it. Inside, if the owner supplied it, would be beach parking.
Right.
There would be swim passes.
Yep.
There would be all kinds of goodies in
Yep.
these little packets for the renters. They would check in and we'd give them their packet.
And that's exactly what is typically in the drawer now. I think they kind of did away with that. And then you purchase the beach parking. And if you don't purchase the beach parking, then your people can't park at
Right,
the beach.
correct.
But that costs more when they rent.
Sure.
So, they're paying for it up front through the owners because the owners are buying it. And I think what's just happened is now people are just coming in and saying, okay, I'm just here. And
It's a
now
little loosey-goosey right now.
that's not how it used to be.
Stuart, to jump back to your comment about those who are long-term renters, I agree with you because in effect, they're residents. Right. So if they're a resident, I think that's completely different. Do we have a definition in Ocean Pines as to what constitutes a resident? How many, how long do they have to rent for to be a resident?
I don't know. I'll be honest with you.
Oops, I believe that being a resident is supposed to be a homeowner. You know, I mean, that's kind of how it's defined. when you're considered-
Property taxes.
That's a good one.
Maybe it's the difference between a long-term and short-term renter. Like, how do you define long-term renter versus short-term renter? 6 months is long-term, 3 months,
Or
short-term?
you don't have to be an owner to be a resident.
If you're living here, you're a resident.
You're a resident,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but
I mean, I lived in,
but then
I
isn't
lived in
6
many
months or more?
countries and I was a resident of these countries, but I rented. I didn't own anything.
Well,
Okay.
that
Okay.
is, I would suggest that that is something, I don't know where it belongs in our governing documents or whether it's some other policy, but somewhere I would suggest that Ocean Pines would want to have definitions, just as we're saying. This is an owner, this is a resident, and this is a guest or however many, but that should be somewhere codified because you're absolutely right. Resident means something to me that may be very different than what it means to a long-term renter. And, you know, even back a couple of years back when there was a big discussion of short-term rentals, uh, I don't think anybody ever defined what distinguished short from long-term. It's kind of like everybody assumed, well, everybody knows what it is, but the answer is not everybody would agree on that definition.
Okay, well, I guess my question is, does it really matter what we use the term resident or the short term, long term, when we're talking about either pool membership or pool passes? The idea is if you live here full time, you can buy a pool membership. In fact, and as a realtor, you may know this more than I, even if you don't live in Ocean Pines, you can buy a membership for the pools. So it doesn't really matter whether you're a resident or not.
No,
What matters is if I've got a pool membership and I want to have a way of taking my kids or grandkids or people, friends that are down visiting for a short period of time.
Right.
Can I either buy a 1 week pass or can I buy the daily booklet of passes like we used to be able to do? So I'm not really sure we need to get into the detail of the definition as much as we need to look at what the different memberships or passes would be.
right.
Stuart.
Yeah, I know I'm late. I'm just supposed to be like a fly on the wall. Hold on for a second. My partner has a swim club membership, and I don't know if our technology with Northstar, I'd have to get down. If we have to check if our technology can do this. He has a fob, this thing here. He touches it, and there's somebody monitoring, and bang, they're in. It's easy, fast, and complete. There is no. You have to touch the fob to the little sensor to get in. That's it.
You know,
Yeah.
they have that at the dog park. You have to get into
Yeah.
the dog
Hard
park,
for the dog park. Absolutely right.
have a magnetic card, whatever it is.
That's a great idea.
With somebody monitoring it at our pools. That's it. So access to the pools and the loosey-goosey, all they have to do is have them touch the fob to the sensor, green or red. That's it. Or they don't have a fob, they pay the daily rate. That's really it. And we can add on these fobs a weekly deal. So it really doesn't matter. I think that to increase and decrease bottlenecks at the pool, we see if we can do fob technology or a card technology. You just touch the card. It's like a little magnetic thing.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, we talked about that too when we were talking
Yeah,
about admittance to the pool
Yep.
It's a
several months ago.
I'll bet you Northstar can do it, but I'd have to check with John to see if that's something we have that ability. But we do it at the dog park.
I would suggest that
Clearly.
that please, I don't know if that needs to come from Gary as a recommendation from us, or if you're already doing that as part of the board thing, but we still, as a committee, I think, need to go back and look at the last recommendation we made to the last board and bring all these ideas to the table and discuss them and then formally vote on which package of those rates we want to suggest to the board for next year.
And I think after this week's board meeting, we'll get a feeling for how the board reacted to the charging documents. Because some of the peripheral stuff that we're talking about were in those charging documents. So once we see what the reaction to that is, then at next month's meeting, we can get into some details on how we would want to present another proposal. Does that sound good to everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the proposals that we made prior to the new board, what are they, just kind of null and void?
No, not at
Because
all.
we did have something in there about technology, either another attendant or technology to swipe a card or like, as Stuart mentioned, the fob, we had
We
stuff like
did.
that in there.
We did, and I think what we ought to do for the next meeting is bring all of that together.
Yes.
We'll have an idea of how the board reacted to the current charging document, and then we can play around with what we've done previously and put it all together in a nice, neat package again and send another charging document.
Sounds good to me.
In the meantime, Stuart, could you check on North Star's capability vis-a-vis either a fob or a swipe or something like that at the gate? Like just to have that knowledge if it's available.
Yeah, I'll talk to,
Thanks.
if I can get that information.
I think the
Right.
fob is a great idea. As far as the swipe or the scan, I can tell you from personal experience, a lot of times I get down to, with my beach parking pass and they scan it and it doesn't come up and they won't let me in and there is no one to talk to in the administrative office to prove that. So I'd say fob versus scan because we seem to have problems with that.
Well,
So
the thing at the dog park is it's not a swipe, you just,
It's a fob, yeah. you
and
just
that
put it
doesn't
up
work
there.
all the time either.
Oh, that kind of runs in
But you
there.
would
'Cause-
still have an attendant there anyway, though,
Right.
for the non-residents who have to pay.
Correct.
But it would decrease the lines. It would sort of do away with the, the members can, swim members can walk right to the top of the line and go on in.
Right.
It would just be a simple thing that they do. But the attendant would.
That would take care of two things, right?
Yeah, they wouldn't have to take care of two, right? Just you take care of the non-residents
Right.
and the non-swim members here. Swim members, you just go on through and you just do this thing you do.
This makes so much
We
sense.
do also have to consider that with a fob system, it has to have some way for them to override in times when the pool is at capacity. Even though you're a swim member, you can't just flash it and it'll say green, go in. If the pool's full, then, we can't let you in until somebody leaves. So I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
That's where the attendant comes in that's monitoring.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly.
Fob thing, that's attendant thing.
You're up next because you're a swim member. You get to go
Right.
in. So, yeah,
Right.
I think this makes sense.
Okay, moving on. I don't know if everybody got a copy of the agenda, but the new item that was added kind of goes back to our previous discussion about the entranceway at Swim and Racket. There was a recent incident where the handicapped chair, the swimmer got into the pool, but then something happened where the chair wasn't functioning properly and they couldn't get back out. Now, from what I understand, the swimmer opted to stay in the pool until the right person came and got the chair working again. She was only in the pool for 15, 20 minutes, and the guards were right there with her. They took care of her. Everything was fine. Nobody got hurt. The guards acted in a very professional manner. But if the chair hadn't been able to be fixed in that short period of time, I'm not sure that the guards could have lifted the person out or carried the person out going up that narrow set of stairs. We've always been focused on the fact that those stairs, no, they're narrow, they're rickety, and they're dangerous when kids are hanging all over them or people with balance issues to get in and out. This brings up an additional safety concern where the guards probably couldn't carry this person out going up that narrow set of stairs. So it's another issue where I think we need to look into, is there an option to do something other than those stairs, whether it's get, and initially we talked about just adding a second pair of stairs. That would help in this situation. So it's sounds more like it's a wider set of stairs.
Right.
So comments, thoughts?
Yeah, just that, this was when we reconstituted our committee, I guess a year and a half ago, whenever it was now. That was our very, very first issue. Maria remembers, it was a safety concern. And I know we presented this, and forgive me, I don't recall what happened, what the response was to
Well,
that.
because our main issue was the kids hanging on the ladder
Well,
because,
the issue was brought up by me because I couldn't get in and out of the pool because I have balance issues.
but was it because the kids were hanging on it?
It's because they're running up the steps
Right.
and down the steps, and without giving adults an opportunity to get in or out. And we would joke, the older people in line would joke, you gotta take a number to get in this pool.
Right.
I would
think-
just, I think it's two separate issues in my mind. This, a person confined to or using a wheelchair is not able to use the stairs in any way, shape or form. So the issue was that the lift didn't work. And there was no plan B for, while respecting the personhood of everyone, if that's a word, and treating them with dignity, is the plan B that the lifeguards would assist them in getting out? Those stairs aren't wide enough that the lifeguards could do that at Swim and Racket Club. You can't have a person on either side helping someone. But the other issue is I don't believe that's anywhere near the first time those pool lifts have not worked. I've seen occasions where they weren't working at the yacht club, and I'm sure it's happened otherwise. So perhaps there's a recommendation about the maintenance on those and how often they're checked for functionality. But I think that the kids hanging on the stairs is a significant issue, but it's separate from handicap access to the pools.
It definitely is. And to get back to your question, I think the reason or the answer we were given is the guards are supposed to try to keep the kids off the ladder or off the stairs. And sometimes that works fairly well, sometimes not so well, because either the parents are yelling at the guards for talking to their kids or whatever. So it is an ongoing issue, and we've just now got another aspect to why maybe a wider set of stairs would be something we
There's
should.
also different
recommend.
levels of handicap, so
Sure.
some are wheelchair bound with no use of their legs, some maybe could get in with another person on either side of them to help them down.
Right.
So it does make a wider set of stairs a nice idea for helping those with limited mobility, not
Right.
immobility, to
Well,
get in and out of the pool.
If you recall, the initial concern was because of the children having fun, running up the steps and jumping off the side of the pool, running back up the steps, not being able to use those steps would kind of force the older population to use those very, what I call treacherous.
Yeah.
I know color. Steps that are built into the side of the pool or the metal things. I don't recall which ones
They
we
have
were
to-
using at the time.
It's built in.
But it was kind of forcing me to have to get in and out of the pool that way, which I kind of not capable of doing anymore.
So
So that was the issue.
I think this is another thing that we need
Put in the
next
package.
month to kind of fine tune how we're gonna, describe it and the concerns that we have and recommendations.
Recommendations, second set of steps, wider, and also regular maintenance of the lifts, and that would take care of both aspects of it to me. And
It
that's
should be on a QA program of some kind where, they get checked off, like, they probably check their emergency supplies every day when they come in, I would think. They should also be checking the lift as
Well,
well.
and maybe they are.
And maybe they are.
And I don't,
It worked to let this person get in the pool, I'm presuming.
And-
So for whatever reason, it broke down, but it's still a good
well,
idea.
and I'm not sure if it broke down. I don't know what happened,
Mm.
but whatever it was a quick, easy fix when the right person got there and knew
good.
what they were doing. So,
Is it feasible to add structurally another set of steps?
They
Well-
use that pool for swim meets. And the stairs that we're referring to are portable. They can be
Okay.
removed.
Okay,
So I understand that. I do get that.
okay.
Well, does anyone know if it would be, if it was a simple fix, that speaks to me that perhaps something wasn't broken, somebody just didn't know how to do something. So is the issue training?
I
Or
believe
is
it
it,
is.
well, that could be, and I'm sure that now that this incident happened, people are gonna be, if they weren't trained, they are gonna be retrained
Yeah,
after this incident. So I don't think that's gonna be an ongoing
I think
problem.
the intentions are good.
Yeah,
It's
And,
just-
the guards, especially a few years, I mean, these are just kids and
right.
the parents would kind of control the guards, don't talk to my kid like that or whatever.
Mhm.
And so I can appreciate the guards trying to do the right thing, but can become intimidated. I think that was an issue easily.
is it worth considering a recommendation that each pool have 2 handicap lifts? If one fails, the other one's there.
That's
oh,
that's probably getting too expensive anyway.
Yeah.
And you start talking about how many times does this really happen
Happen.
in the
Then
whole
look at it.
span of it.
Right.
And
once
it's-
the season,
Yeah.
and you have to look at it.
yeah, it's just.
I would also suggest that the potential for a lawsuit for violation of the ADA it might be easily offset by a backup plan. And I don't know that's the right answer, but having someone who's guaranteed by law access to our pools, and to have someone floundering in the pool and can't get out is both a
Well,
public relations concern and a legal concern.
And I think that suggesting a wider set of stairs
Right,
would
Yeah.
take care of that issue.
right.
How-
exactly.
Help me understand that, Gary. How would wider steps help someone who's,
Because if somebody, if this incident happened again, the guards could then help
Remove
the
that
person, remove the person, carry them,
Side by
however,
side.
out of a wider set of
Yes.
steps. Now, if the chair was not working at all, then the person wouldn't be able to get in or out unless the guards helped them in and out. But I think this is more a once in a long time issue, that whatever happened hasn't happened very often. And just the ability to have a wider set of steps, so in an emergency, they could get out of the pool that way.
if that is our recommendation, then I would suggest that we need to make sure that how to help someone out of the pool when that lift isn't working is a formal part of the training and not just an afterthought.
I
think they
agree,
would
although I,
use the board. They always have to be able to get an immobile person out of the
Right.
pool. That's part of lifeguard training. So they would pull the guards and they would empty the pool and they would use the board to get the person out.
And you are ADA compliant if you can show proof that you've trained your staff in the use of the chair, that they've signed off on it, that everybody who's new goes through the training, that there's an update periodically, that you're checking the chair for functionality, all of those things. The fact that you even have the chair is the first step to being ADA compliant. Having two, not to mention the expense, it also takes up a lot of room on the deck, and it's just problematic. And for the number of disabled people who are truly immobile, who are trying to get into the pool, they're just, the whole time I swam here, I've never seen the chairs used, ever. I mean, I know they're used. I'm just saying, I go to the pool fairly often.
Right.
I've never seen the chair in use. So I think
Once.
having two would be
And
probably
I-
a risk benefit ratio. It just doesn't, not enough risk for the benefit.
I have a thought with this chairlift. Isn't it part of the maintenance first season in the outside pools to make sure it's operable?
Oh, that's
Is it written down as you check it, just like you check the water is good, and is the maintenance on that check? Is the inside pool check maybe twice a year because people use it all year round? As
Okay,
part of
check
the
more than one
maintenance.
year.
I have no idea.
The county has
There
certain
is,
rules and
I don't think
regulations.
we
Yeah,
know,
that's all. I
but
don't know.
I would venture a guess, a very strong yes. that
Yeah,
they-
that
it
the
is- yeah,
pool is-
we don't, yeah, obvesely, we don't know.
Yeah,
They
It
get
was
into a level
operable
of
because it got the
operation.
person in the pool.
Right.
Yeah.
right.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, so
Yeah.
it's a machine that can break down.
I know, and the county, yeah, because when I was managing, as president managing in Ocean City, every year, my pool manager had to comply with the county.
Yeah.
And it would come to my
Absolutely.
face every year,
Absolutely.
Yep, got it.
Okay, so it sounds like we've got a number of things to be thinking about and reviewing what we've done in the past with some of the recommendations so that next month we can spend a little bit of time trying to put together a new proposal for a couple things.
Sounds good.
Any other thoughts before we adjourn?
The only other thing that I want to add on, and I know we talked about this before and they said, no, not this year, but I would like to revisit having classes, and I know it's not gonna happen this year, but having classes outdoor next year. And I think it could be used as a moneymaker thing for us because people, vacation people, everybody looks for classes. Attendance goes down in our classes in the wintertime or in the summertime, I'm sorry, because it's really hot inside that building.
Right,
In there to take
right.
classes and exercise, it is hot.
Mm.
And I think that if we promoted it and put flyers out into the pools,
Yes.
talked about the outdoor classes, I think that we could turn it back into a money-making thing for the aquatics department.
I agree. I'm
Absolutely.
sure that they would love to be,
Outdoors again,
they would
absolutely.
love, I'm sure the
Instead of
aquatics department would love to.
the big fans that they have, because it's so hot, they can
Yeah.
barely teach the
Yeah.
classes, and it's just really hot in the summertime to try
Oh,
to
we'd
do
be-
that indoors.
It's regrettable that they
Yeah.
couldn't do that this
It,
year.
it really
But
is.
I know their heart was in it. They wanted to have those.
I
Well,
taught-
in the past, they had a very, very limited number of classes outdoors anyway.
Yeah.
I think it was one a session.
But they
if I
had
recall.
great attendance.
Yeah.
They had
Swimming
great
women, I remember
attendance.
the swimming women.
Right,
Wow.
well, and the total body fitness and
Yeah,
everything,
yeah.
so,
And the
I
people
mean,
going to classes they frequently ask for this,
oh, absolutely.
I taught water aerobics in Northern Virginia, and my classes were packed
Exactly,
in the summertime.
exactly, and
I
people
know.
traveling.
That the
look for
water
that
was
kind
so
of stuff,
hot
Yeah.
You know, because
From
they're not,
exercising,
they're
and
doing their
it
stuff at home.
couldn't
they look
even
for
cool you
places.
off, it was so hot.
All right, well, that's one more thing that we'll add to the next charging document.
There you go.
Okay. All right,
But I have one more thing, and that's that scam.
oh, yes.
That's very important.
I'm not sure how many of you got an email supposedly from me
Yeah.
asking you to purchase gift cards
For hospice
for
and veterans.
veterans and hospice. It is a scam. Apparently, there's been a couple of them. over
Did
the
anybody
last
not
couple
get
of
it? Do you
years.
want to see a copy of it?
I got one from Cole and Horn a year ago.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
brother got.
I got one from,
Colette
yeah,
Horn about all over the place. Months ago
Buying
or
gift
something.
cards or something.
Yeah, right. And I got one from Doug Parks. I'm like, I don't know Doug
I
Parks.
just deleted it.
Yeah. I mean, I looked at it at
Recognize
first,
it.
yeah, but what is this?
but the thing is, last year, me too, and I was working with Colonel Brashure from the, here,
Yeah,
police department. Did you talk to him?
I talked to the police department, on Friday. And I also talked, to the front desk here and was letting the IT people here know about it. And that's about all we could do.
I
Yeah.
think they're accessing the Ocean Pines website,
Community, yeah.
the community website,
Yes.
and getting our information, like we're on committees, and
Mhm.
so that's.
They have our names.
I would
And are
like to suggest that, if it's appropriate, that we ask to speak with Josh and see if maybe they want to put an article, perhaps from the chief of police or something, about these scams, because
They did that last year.
avoiding these kind of things is what I do for the government. And we always tell people no legitimate charity will ever ask you to send them a gift card. Asking for a gift card is the first dead giveaway that it's a scam. And I don't know how generally that knowledge is out there, but it's worth sharing in some kind of broader aspect.
Yeah. And I'm sure that we can get that done. We'll just ask Josh to, include something, or Stuart, maybe you can mention that, to Josh or whoever, just to get it out that there are some scams going on.
I told currently,
It is kind of.
I told the office last year,
I
I think it's an inside job.
Asking me to buy gift cards.
No, only because now really I'm convinced, because all these board members here, us, we're all involved in it. They have our names, our email, and
Right.
it's, something's going on. And if this is
It's
the
been
only
going on
committee.
for a long time.
Yeah.
I got a couple from the rabbi at my synagogue.
Oh.
And then every couple of months we get something from our synagogue saying, guys,
Oh,
another
be
scam,
careful.
the rabbi's asking for gift cards.
Yeah.
Please call or do something, call or get in touch with us before you ever respond to any of these.
Right.
Again,
pretty-
I would just suggest our IT department it needs to be made aware of it, but they can't do anything. The only way to stop it is not to get involved in the first place, and that's education of everyone. As I say, somebody asks you for a gift card, it's not legitimate. It just isn't. And that's the easiest way. When I see those, well, I'm required to report them to the government if I get one. But it's just an education issue, because you can never outthink a criminal in which vector they will take to get to people and trick them into sending them money.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Okay, I think that does it for today. Thank you, everybody, for showing up.
Thank you for
And,
sharing.
We will, we'll meet again second Tuesday of next month here.
Tuesdays.
Monday.
Monday.
I thought
You said Tuesday.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry. No, not Tuesday.
All right,
Monday, second Monday of each month. And Michelle said that she's gonna get a link to the meeting, for anybody that can't be here, out, 2 days ahead of time. Okay,
That would be August 8th. Do you have
yes.
August 8th?
August,
Oh, did I do it wrong?
the first or second Monday?
Second
So August 14th.
Oh, sorry, my bad. Oh, no, August 1 is the first. Oh, it's a Monday, sorry.
So-
You said Tuesday.
I
No,
know.
back to-
Vivian, Vivian, who's up first?
Oh my gosh, it's a good thing I saw in your email. I was just like, oh, good, he sent the agenda out. And then I was like, wait, we don't have a meeting today, or we didn't have a meeting this week. And then you said Monday. I was like, oh, they must change it to Monday. So I had Monday, 3 p.m. in my calendar. So I was hoping it was great.
Oh.
And then I caught the 10 and I was like, oh gosh, that's right.
Good meeting you.
Thank you, Ann.
Tracy.
Good meeting you, Tracy.
Sorry, I'm adding pool meeting all the way for the rest of my life.
Gary,
Yes.
Gary, before we leave the room, I have one question. Is that Cindy hiding over in the corner of my screen? Yes. Okay, I just wanted to be able to put the attendance in the minutes. So thank you, Cindy.
Thank you.
If anybody is interested in getting out on the water, we've got a fundraiser going on for the AGH Penguin Swim. So, now
I
I've
may
got
do this.
a couple of these, if anybody else is interested.
We're in the water, not the ocean, the bay, right? I
In
don't
the
do
bay,
ocean.
Yeah. in the bay. All right, guys, I'm gonna turn
I don't- you don't
this
do
off.
water.
Okay.
Stuart, thank you.
Nice.